Last time, we followed the decade-long hunt for a man the Soviet press refused to name.
56 bodies, a forensic dead end, and a criminal justice system collapsing under the weight of its own lies.
But when police finally arrested Andrei Chikatilo in 1990, they didn't just uncover a killer. They exposed something darker.
In part 2 of The Butcher of Rostov, we go behind closed doors, into the interrogation room, into Chikatilo's disturbing confessions, and into a Soviet courtroom where justice wore a very peculiar face. You're listening to Psycho Killer, Shocking True Crime Stories. I'm Simon Ford.
And I'm Jack Morrell. This is the conclusion to the story of the USSR's most prolific serial killer. Coming up next, we'll look at the final days of Chikatilo's reign of terror, his arrest, and the shocking confessions that stunned investigators.
By late 1990, the Soviet Union was unravelling. Amidst the chaos, the Rostov police intensified their efforts to apprehend the elusive killer. A dedicated task force operating under the radar began to piece together the fragmented evidence.
On the 20th of November 1990, Andrei Chikatilo was arrested near a train station in Novokcherkassk. He'd been observed exhibiting suspicious behaviour, loitering near a bus stop known for previous disappearances. Upon his arrest, he was found carrying a knife, a rope, and a jar of Vaseline.
Initially, Chikatilo denied any involvement. However, after days of intense interrogation and the presentation of mounting evidence, he confessed to 56 murders, detailing each with chilling precision.
His trial commenced on the 14th of April 1992 in Rostov-on-Don. The proceedings were unprecedented in their transparency, with the courtroom packed and extensive media coverage. Chikatilo was housed in a reinforced cage, a measure taken to keep the public from getting at him.
Throughout the trial, Chikatilo displayed erratic behaviour, ranting, singing and exposing himself, leading to debates about his mental state. Nevertheless, psychiatric evaluations concluded that he was sane and fit to stand trial. In February 1994, after years of monstrous crimes and a sensational trial, Andrei Chikatilo was finally executed. What you're about to hear is not a reconstruction. This is the actual moment in court when Andrei Chikatilo, the Butcher of Rostov, was sentenced to death.
The judge says, the final punishment for Chikatilo, based on Article 40 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation, is the death sentence. Make the defendant rise. This court sentences you to death. Do you understand this sentence? Chikatilo shouts, fraud, fraud. The judge says, take him away.
The sentence was carried out in a prison in Novokcherkassk behind closed doors. There were no final interviews, no press photos, no last-minute confessions. But it was the 1995 HBO film Citizen X that came closest to capturing the grim reality of the Chikatilo case. Based on official records and first-hand accounts, the film lays bare the bureaucratic paralysis, the political interference, and the harrowing atmosphere in which one of history's most prolific serial killers operated. It also delivers a stark dramatization of Chikatilo's final moments, a chilling interpretation of justice in the waning days of the Soviet Union. What you're about to hear is a short clip from Citizen X. While the dialogue is in Russian, the language of the regime that enabled him and eventually executed him, The weight of the moment is unmistakable.
Prego, entri là dentro. Prego, non si volti.
No jury, no final words, just a bullet in the back of the head. Chikatilo was buried in an unmarked grave, his name scrubbed from official records, his memory reduced to whispers and nightmares.
Chikatilo's case remains a stark reminder of the depths of human depravity and the systemic failures that allowed his crimes to persist unchecked for over a decade.
So far, we've uncovered Andrei Chikatilo's crimes, the botched investigations, and the macabre legacy he left behind. But now we're going to open the psychological autopsy to determine with clinical detachment what made him tick. The gold standard for diagnosing psychopathy is the Hare Psychopathy Checklist Revised, developed by Canadian psychologist Robert D. Hare. It's a 20-point scale used by forensic psychologists and criminal profilers worldwide. Each trait scores 0 to 2, depending on its intensity or presence. A score of 30 or above out of a possible 40 indicates clinical psychopathy. Let's walk through the list and see how many boxes Chikatilo ticks.
1. Glibness and superficial charm. Not your textbook smooth talker, Chikatilo was awkward and socially withdrawn. But former colleagues said he projected an air of authority in the classroom and was often praised for his calm demeanour. This superficial respectability gave him cover. Score 1.
2. Grandiose sense of self-worth. Yes, despite his failures, he saw himself as morally superior, even comparing his mission to cleansing society. At his trial, he ranted that the court wasn't qualified to judge him. Score 2.
3. Pathological lying. Chikatilo lied compulsively to his wife, employers, police, and even his own children. He maintained multiple personas: a loving father, a devoted communist, and a brutal predator. Score 2.
4. Cunning and manipulative. He targeted isolated victims, often offering them sweets, alcohol, or promises of help. His method was calculating. He learned to avoid detection for over a decade. Score 2.
5. Lack of remorse or guilt. No remorse, no apologies. Even when confessing, he spoke with clinical detachment, referring to his victims as objects. One investigator said he described killings like he was talking about doing the dishes. Score 2.
6. Shallow affect. This was chilling. Chikatilo struggled to form genuine emotional connections. He cried only when speaking about how misunderstood he was, not for his victims. Score 2.
7. Callousness and lack of empathy. The injuries inflicted, genital mutilation, eye gouging, speak for themselves. He showed no compassion. Some of his victims were children. One was just 9 years old. Score 2.
8. Failure to accept responsibility. At trial, he blamed childhood trauma, Soviet society, sexual impotence, anyone and anything but himself. Score 2.
9. Need for stimulation and proneness to boredom. Chikatilo's murders escalated over time. Some months he would kill 2 or 3 victims. He described a rush, a need for more intensity. Score 2.
10. Parasitic lifestyle. Not financially, but emotionally. He leached off societal trust, exploiting public spaces like train stations and markets to find victims. Score 1.
11. Poor behavioural controls. Fits of rage, overkill violence, sudden outbursts. He could be calm one moment, then stabbing wildly the next. Score 2.
12. Early behavioural problems. Chikatilo reportedly wet the bed, tortured animals, and was socially rejected as a child. These are classic red flags identified by Hare and MacDonald a generation earlier. Score 2.
13. Lack of realistic long-term goals. He drifted through careers, failed at politics, and constantly reinvented himself. His life was directionless beneath the facade. Score 2.
14. Impulsivity. Many attacks were opportunistic. Victims approached on the spur of the moment. He was incapable of resisting urges. Score 2.
15. Irresponsibility. Chikatilo abandoned jobs, ignored family responsibilities, and left chaos in his wake, all while pretending to be an upstanding man. Score 2.
16. Failure to accept responsibility for his actions. We're doubling up here, but it's worth noting again, blame shifting was second nature. Score 2.
17. Many short-term marital relationships. Chikatilo was married, but his wife described an absence of intimacy. We don't know of any affairs, although he frequented sex workers. Score 1.
18. Juvenile delinquency. No major crimes were recorded in his youth, but multiple accounts of petty theft and disturbing behaviour were. Score 1.
19. Revocation of conditional release. Not applicable. He was never paroled, and when arrested, it was game over. Score 0.
20. Criminal versatility. Absolutely. Victims ranged in age, gender and social class. The methods varied, showing experimentation and adaptability. Score 2.
Did you keep score? The total score was 37 out of 40. That puts Andrei Chikatilo not just on the psychopathy spectrum, but near its extreme limit.
Cold, methodical, devoid of empathy. The butcher of Rostov wasn't just a killer. He was a textbook psychopath. We've talked about Chikatilo's crimes, his arrest and his trial, but let's step back. Let's ask a bigger question. Could this happen again? And more uncomfortably, could it happen here?
When you look at the long arc of Chikatilo's offending, spanning 12 years, 53 murders, and multiple missed opportunities, one word keeps coming back: failure. Not just personal failure, but systemic failure, institutional failure, the kind of failure that happens in a failed state.
He said his action was inevitable. After 6.5 years in power, Mikhail Gorbachev confirmed his resignation on television tonight.
Let's not forget the context. Chikatilo operated in the collapsing Soviet Union, a state unravelling at the seams. Stalin's legacy of paranoia and repression still lingered. The KGB controlled criminal investigations. Open talk of serial murder was discouraged. Anything that might reflect badly on the state was buried.
In many ways, the USSR didn't have a criminal justice system in the Western sense. They had a system of obedience. Orders were followed, dissent wasn't tolerated. So when honest officers began to suspect a serial killer was on the loose, they were told to stop looking, because officially, Serial killers didn't exist in that workers' paradise.
And yet the bodies kept piling up. It took a new generation of investigators and a collapse of the old order before Chikatilo was finally caught.
So, could it happen again?
Well, here's the uncomfortable truth. It already has. And it's not just in failed states. It's in democracies, in prosperous, developed countries. Let's take the United Kingdom.
Between 2020 and 2023, over 1,200 police officers left the Metropolitan Police Service alone. Many forces are chronically underfunded. Detective units are overwhelmed. In some areas, burglaries, assaults, even rapes go uninvestigated due to resource constraints.
A Home Office report in 2024 quietly admitted that more than 40% of serious crime in England goes unresolved. 40. In some regions, entire categories of offences are effectively decriminalised by neglect.
Now, imagine someone like Chikatilo operating today. No consistent MO, modus operandi, different victim profiles, bodies dumped across different counties. Unless you've got joined up intelligence between forces, he might not be caught for years, just like in the Soviet Union.
And that brings us to America, the land of the FBI and 18,000 different police departments, local, county, state, tribal, federal, all with different protocols, priorities, and jurisdictions. Coordination is optional. Interagency competition is a known issue.
Remember the Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway? He killed at least 49 women across Washington state between 1982 and 2001. That's nearly 20 years before his capture. Victims weren't always linked. Leads fell through cracks. He operated under the radar, within a functioning state.
And today, in 2025, the FBI still lists over 600 active cases of suspected serial murder. How many are operating right now, completely undetected? 5? 50?
The uncomfortable truth is this. Serial killers thrive in chaos. They love bureaucracy. They hide in blind spots. And when institutions fail, even just a little, they step in.
So, yes, it could happen again. And yes, it could happen here. That was the story of Andrei Chikatilo, the butcher of Rostov. A man shaped by famine, forged in fear, and protected by a collapsing regime. A predator who slipped through the cracks of a broken system. And a case that remains one of the most chilling examples of just how far a psychopath will go when no one stops them.
We followed his story from the brutal hardship of his early life through a catalogue of horrors that claimed the lives of more than 50 victims, women, children and young men, often mutilated in unimaginable ways. We looked at how Soviet denial, political interference and sheer institutional incompetence allowed his crimes to go unchecked for more than a decade.
We explored how Chikatilo's profile fits Dr. Robert Hare's psychopathy checklist, ticking off traits like superficial charm, lack of empathy, grandiosity, and pathological lying. And we asked that hard question. Could it happen again? Could it happen here?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Could a modern Chikatilo be hiding in plain sight right now, buried beneath bureaucracy and red tape?
Before we go, we want to acknowledge the sources who helped create this episode.
We've used a wide range of publicly available material to tell Andrei Chikatilo's story in a compelling and historically accurate way.
We'd like to thank the creators of the YouTube channels who shared archival and dramatised footage of Chikatilo's trial and sentencing. In particular, the courtroom footage used in this episode, including the sentencing of Andrei Chikatilo, was sourced from the video Andrei Chikatilo Trial and Sentencing. We'll put the YouTube link on our website and in the notes for this episode. The dramatisation for his execution came from the Chikatilo execution, Andrei Chikatilo Citizen X ending. That's also available on YouTube. Our sincere thanks to the creators of those videos for preserving and sharing this important historical media.
This episode's additional information was sourced from published interviews, press archives, academic journals on criminal psychology, and materials from the original 1995 HBO film Citizen X. We also referenced multiple case studies and commentaries by criminologists and Soviet-era historians.
If you're interested in the deeper background, we'd encourage you to visit our website at psycho-killer.co, where you'll find links, further reading, and extended materials on this and the other cases that we cover.
And if you believe in what we're doing, telling these stories with honesty, rigour, and respect, then support us on Patreon. Just head to patreon.com/psychokiller. Your support helps us research deeper, reach further, and bring you new stories.
Subscribe to Psycho Killer, shocking true crime stories on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to leave us a review. It helps us reach more listeners just like you.
From me, Jack Morrell.
And from me, Simon Ford.
Thanks for listening.
Stay safe, stay curious, and remember, not every monster hides in the shadows. Some wear a smile.
We'll see you again soon on the dark side for more Psycho Killer, shocking true crime stories.